Welcome to Business in the Black, the podcast where ideas become plans, plans become actionable items, and actionable items become results. Business in the Black is the go-to podcast for aspiring and established Black entrepreneurs looking to build, grow, and sustain successful businesses. Each episode dives into the inspiring journeys of Black-owned businesses, highlighting their triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned. Whether you're thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship or are already running a business, we provide expert advice on essential topics like funding, marketing, operations, and scaling. Our mission is to empower and uplift the Black business community by sharing knowledge, resources, and success stories. Tune in for motivation, practical strategies, and a network of support to help you turn your vision into reality and amplify Black excellence in business. I am your host, Brandon D. Morgan. Let's jump right in. The secret ingredient is always love. Author unknown. Okay, so, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about me and my journey, and I'm from Dadeville, Alabama originally, and so when it came time for the first guest, I thought, we gotta go to Dadeville. We absolutely gotta get somebody from Dadeville. And who better than Dwanna Stone of Stella Pies, LLC, okay? I mean, just look at the material, okay? But in any case, I am so happy and so honored to have Dwanna Stone here with me today to talk about her journey as entrepreneur and owner of Stella Pies. So now, the thing is now, again, I talked about Dwanna, and you're trying to figure out, well, where's the Stella? Well, you're not the only one. So I grew up calling her Dwanna Stone because her kids are around my age, and we all grew up together. And then one day, you just became Stella. I mean, what did this come from?
Well, let's just say, let me just start back to the beginning of when I first left Dadeville in 1997. I moved to Atlanta, and I stayed up until 2001. Then I moved back to Alabama to Opelika. That's where I stopped off at. And I was working at a convenience store. And there was a young man that came in to visit one day, shopping. And he kind of like slipped me his phone number. And we became friends and later became husband and wife. But during the dating process, my dad told me I had got my groove back because he was a few years younger than me. So I became Stella.
That's what Stella came from.
Yeah, got my groove back.
Okay. I feel that. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that up because, like I said, I didn't know. I mean, it should have been Dwanna Pies if I'd have had something like that. But I get it now. That Stella Pies, it's moving. I'm telling you. So now you talk about your Aunt Marie, and when you grew up, and in the early days, watching her make pies, and that kind of got you into wanting to make pies. Tell us about that story.
Oh yeah, because as a young girl, I used to visit my aunt a lot. She's one of the favorites, and she would make these fried pies all the time. And of course, I stayed in the kitchen, being nosy and being a taste tester. And so it just kind of piqued my curiosity one day. As I grew older, I went to work at a corporation and decided, I wanted to do a little side hustle, make some extra money. So I tried making the pies. And during that time, I was selling them for $1.50. And I was only making the apple pies. And they became a hit. So the rest is history.
Okay, cool. Now, you got a lot of different stories, and we're gonna get into them, I promise you. But one of them is like the origin of this. So you start making the pies at $1.50 and all of that. How did you get this? What is it? Try one, eat two.
Okay, so after I ended my career at the corporation, I later on went to work for a transportation service in Auburn, Alabama. And so the drivers that would drive from Auburn to Atlanta to the airport, normally they didn't have time to pick up lunch or anything like that. So I started a lunch to go, which I named it Princess Palace after my granddaughter, because at the time I only had, girls. And so one day I featured a sweet shop day, and I introduced the pies, to the guys. And so one of my drivers asked me, what do we have here? I was like, it's a fried pie. It's a fruit pie like you would get from, Mickey D's. And he was like, okay, so, what do you call it? I said, just a fried pie. So he said, well, how about we just call them Stella Pies?
Okay.
So that's how the name, was birthed.
Okay, cool. So in 2017, you had a business called, or lunch to go, called Princess Palace.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Tell us about that. But then also tell me, like, how did you go from a lunch to go to like solely saying, okay, I'm gonna be Stella Pies? How did you do that?
Okay, so lunch to go was like a lunch on the go. The drivers that worked for the transportation service, they didn't have a lot of time to go out and get lunch. So what I did was implemented a weekly menu with different items, and they would choose which day they wanted to order lunch. So that way it wouldn't be wasteful. So one day out of the week, I implemented a sweet shop day where I, feature my pies and brownies, cookies, that sort of thing. So when I did that, one of the drivers asked me, what was it? The pie. He was questioning the pie. And I was like, it's a deep fried fruit pie, apple, peach, and sweet potato. And he was like, well, what do you call it? I'm like, it doesn't really have a name. So he was like, well, let's call it Stella Pies. You Stella, they pies. So let's put it together. So I was like, okay, that's catchy. Stella Pies, we can roll with that. So yeah, that's how the name birthed, and it was a hit.
Okay, cool. So I assumed that she was running the transportation company because, again, I told y'all I have known her for a long time, and I really thought that she was the head honcho at this because I didn't even know anything about them until she started working for them. And next thing I know, everybody know about them. So, I'm just saying, she's a household name.
You can say I kind of ran things around there because really, truly, I started out as a driver, then I moved up to dispatcher, and then I became the supervisor. So.
And the cook, okay?
And the cook.
Don't say yourself short. You got it, okay? Okay, so now from cooking with Aunt Marie to cooking at the transportation place to all the things, all in between. Help me understand the try one, eat two slogan. Where did that come from with Stella Pies?
Okay, so the try one, eat two came from the purchasing of the pies. First time customers, people just want to try something and not sure what it's going to taste like. So normally, every time I would sell a pie to a new customer, they would come back for a second pie before they could even leave after purchasing the first one. So that's how I came up with the slogan. You're going to try one, but you're going to eat two.
I feel it. Okay, cool. So, Stella, was there ever a moment in your, entrepreneurial journey where you just really faced a lot of discouragement? How'd you handle that?
Oh yeah, let me tell you about that. So in 2018, I moved back to Georgia with my significant other. I packed up from my transportation service job. I left my place, and I was on my way to big dreams. So I get back to Georgia, and I had, came up with a plan of how I was going to conduct the business once I got here. And we had a conversation one day, and he told me that this wasn't his dream. So that kind of was like a nail in the coffin, for somebody that, I done picked up and, made this life-changing decision, and to tell me that, Stella Pies is not his dream. So it really put a damper on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of reconstructed my plan, pressed my way through, and still making pies. Cool.
So you all are still like moving. You just said, hey, I gotta keep doing what I gotta do because you have to keep following your dream.
Right.
So we know that like funding is a real big thing for Black entrepreneurs, and you mentioned even that capital and funding that was like one of your biggest obstacles when you first started out. Tell us about how you managed to navigate those waters.
Well, I just kept working because I've always had a job, and the pies was just like a little hustle. So what I did was I just implemented, ways to shuffle some bills around, and so I can have extra money to buy ingredients. Because my main objective was just always putting a pie in somebody's hand, and as long as I can make a pie, Stella Pies will still be alive. So
I feel that. So Stella, have you ever had like investors to reach out to you and like invest in your business or help you, or have you found that to not be effective? I mean, tell us about like your investor stories.
now this is a very interesting story because I have had so many potential investors, and I'll go ahead and start with the one that really almost took me out with a bang. So it's this guy. He reached out to me on social media. Said that he had a major business, and that he wanted to invest and use it as a tax write-off.
Okay.
So he, told me all the things that he wanted to do. Of course, donate a large sum of money, and he would purchase the vehicle that I would need to haul my food trailer. So we had several conversations verbally over the phone. So I really felt like it was a real live person, and but it was just the things that he was saying and the wild goose chases I had went on. It just seemed like he may have been somebody behind a jail cell, just with this fictional life,
Yeah.
And so, but what kind of broke the case for me was when he told me that his business was a funeral home, and there was an incident that happened in Birmingham, Alabama, where a young man was unalived, and that they had the body. So I was like, okay, this is my big break because I'm about to find out who this man really is.
Yeah.
And so I called the funeral home. Well, they had no information on this particular person by this particular name.
And it was supposed to be his funeral home.
His funeral home.
Yeah.
So I was like, so are you sure? And so I, gave the name again, and they were certain that they didn't have anybody there by that name. I said, well, he's supposed to be the owner. And so I was like, okay. So now the next setup was him being in Atlanta. He was there for a football game, and we were supposed to meet, at a certain time. And I told him that I had my parents coming, and he was like, "Oh, that's fine," but he never showed up. He never. Well, I didn't actually go to the place that we were supposed to meet, but I called him before I would head out that way, but he never answered. So yeah, it was just all a game that he wanted to play. But I didn't let it like just kill my dream, but it just made me very cautious of the next person that came my way. But there was others before him that offered financial assistance. But I got a few good supplies out of the deal. I got a KitchenAid that's still working.
Yeah. Small victories, okay?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Stella Pies, North Princess Palace, those are not your first bouts with entrepreneurship.
Oh.
Tell us about, you being a hairdresser and all of that before you started the pie business, and how that kind of influenced and how they kind of came together.
Well, so back in the day, as we called it, kitchen titians, I was doing hair out of my home in my kitchen. And it was just another way to help, fund with the pies, making extra money. So, when you was, back in the day when we were going out, to clubbing, I was always a person to do everybody's hair.
Okay.
So I decided, okay, well this could be, my business. And I decided to sign up for cosmetology. I went to school, I didn't get my license, but I was still doing hair.
Mm-hmm.
And the money that I was receiving, from doing hair, I used it to buy my ingredients. So it was always I kept my wheels spinning some kind of way to keep a pie in somebody's hand.
I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Okay. So keeping a pie in somebody's hand is real important.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
As long as they chewing, I'm in the kitchen and I'm frying.
Okay. Buy one,
eat two.
Okay. So how has being a black entrepreneur, shaped your perspective on pricing and valuing your own work?
Oh boy, let me tell you about the pricing.
Okay.
What I have learned about the pricing, you cannot price your product to fit somebody else's pockets.
Okay.
So when I started out, the pies were like $1.50 because that was like the early '90s. Things were going rather smoothly. But now it's 2025. We all know about the prices on everything. So I still kind of like want to keep my prices at a comfortable, price. But when I started in 2017, the pies went from $1.50 to $3, which still wasn't a bad price because of the ingredients that I use. I use top of the line. I don't use off-brand stuff. And so now that it's 2025, I did go up. They're like the regular hand pies are like $5, and I do snack packs, so I have different varieties of things up in different prices. But I did have to learn that I can't set my price for somebody else's pockets.
Right. So your caring philosophy is like a people over business type thing. Even talking about, your pricing and trying to, fit other people's pockets and learning that that's not going to really work. Talk to me about how that has really like influenced your business, looking at people over your own interest in your business.
Well, it has had its pros and cons because this old heart of mine is always caring about how somebody feels, what somebody thinks, and that sort of thing. So sometimes I come out good, caring about other people. But when it actually comes down to my business, I had to learn to not be so giving. And what I mean by that is, I want everybody to taste these pies. So every time I go somewhere, I always want to make a tray of pies and give them away. That's just like me giving away money. So I had to just kind of put a pause on that and know that my business, the money that I need to make from this business is really more important than me to just trying to just give stuff away all the time and making it as if, well, if I don't give them this pie, they may not, purchase from me.
Right.
So I had to kind of balance that out a little bit.
Yeah. And I know that, you have dreams. We kind of talked about your food concession truck earlier. We talked about, some of the potential investors. How has your, your self-funded business, how has that kind of people over business influenced your own dreams of getting your concession truck?
Well, it's funny you asked me that because let me tell you what happened. When the PPP loans came out, Stella Pies is a LLC, and I got a PPP loan.
Okay.
I had all the money I needed to get my concession truck. And what did good old Stella do? I took the money and I helped the community. So, yeah, I helped other people.
That's sweet, Pooh. That's sweet. Okay.
I did do that. And to let everybody know, I'm having to pay that money back. So my loan was not forgiven. So I'm having to pay that money back that I was supposed to get my concession trailer back to SBA. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we already know that your personality is larger than life. So we don't need to even go into that. But at the end of the day, you are a self-described social butterfly. So how has that personality, really benefited you in business, not meeting strangers?
It really has made it very, very easy for me. Because, like I said, I don't meet strangers. It's easy for me to strike up a conversation Even with just advertising, just wearing my merch.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they'll just, out of curiosity, what is Stella Pies? So, right then, it's easy for me to just go through the spiel, let them know about Stella Pies, and I gotta sell.
Give them a pie. Ain't made no money, but you gave them a pie. Okay.
But you know what? In the future, that brings me an order though.
What? Buy one.
Try one. Try one, eat two.
Try one, eat two. Okay. Well, that's really what you're doing then.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, so you giving away pies, but really you letting them try one, and then they gonna come back and buy 2.
Mm-hmm. Every time.
You know what? That's really a marketing thing. I'm getting with it.
And it really works.
Now, I was trying to get you to buy one, but I get it. Just hand it to them,
Yeah,
and then you gonna get your money back. The ROI is working for you.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Okay, now I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little hungry, and we've been talking about pies and cakes and lunch to go and all that. Baby, let's come on. Let's go ahead to this kitchen and get things popping, okay?
Cooking with Stella.
Hey.
We're gonna make the dough for the Stella Pies. Flour. Got your Crisco. And y'all gotta understand, I cook the old-fashioned way. I don't do no measuring, baby. I eyeball it. Now we gotta cut the shortening into the flour. Alright, now we're gonna add our buttermilk. And mix it very slow.
What them pies say, hey? What them pies say, hey? What them pies say, hey? Pop, pop, pop. Okay, we back. I'm about to start off. She over here cooking. The grease is hot. The purees, they're not really purees. They, peaches and apples and sweet potatoes. Y'all saw her cut sweet potatoes up a minute ago. She over here rolling dough. I mean, it's lit. I'm telling you. You wonder why I decided to do the wedding pies at? Well, this is really Southern Soul's queen right here. If you know anything about Southern Soul, you need to know Stella Stone, okay? Tell us how you got involved with that. I think that was like, 2019 or something like that?
Yeah, 2019, I actually went to a birthday party for another friend of mine, and he introduced me to DJ Trucker, because he was like, this is the DJ you need to, latch on to get your business going.
Okay.
So my main objective was becoming a vendor at the Southern Soul shows. And, to get a pie in everybody's mouth. And, so it can just go viral. Well, it took a whole nother turn.
Okay.
I have a love for music as well. So instead of me being a vendor, I became a promoter. So let me just put emphasis on promoter. I was an unpaid promoter. So what I do is just support the music for all the artists. I play it. I go on my platform, play the music, let people know about the new music and upcoming events and such. And I also talk about Stella Pies, because if I happen to show up with some pies, I want people to purchase, because I've done all the promoting I'm going to do with Stella Pies.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
So now what we got going on here is the sweet potato, which is my number one pie. So going in the hot grease, baby. We about to eat us some Stella Pies.
Okay. The grease is greasing over here. Let me stand back so I don't get too hot.
So, yeah. And let me tell y'all something. I cook with love, baby. I cook with love, and I roll one pie at a time.
Hey, that's the only way to do it,
This thing gonna keep on rolling. Okay.
I wish y'all could smell what was going on in here, because it smells so good.
Yeah, and I got apple, peach, and sweet potato.
And which one is your number one seller, you said?
Sweet potato, baby.
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato. And I think my next best big seller is apple. And then it just all depends on where I am.
Got it.
As far as what sells. Because, everybody got different taste buds. Like I said, one pie at a time, one pie at a time. And it's
So, we talked about, meeting with the Southern Soul and all those people, but also in 2019, James Fortune ate one of your pies. I trust you, that James Fortune.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What was that like?
Let me just tell you about that. So, my good friend told me about the Gospel Expo.
Okay.
Okay. I thought I was going to take some pies, radio personnel there. Took a couple platters and, stirred them up. Got in there and James Fortune was in there.
Huh.
I got pictures for that group in that pudding.
Okay.
Yes, and I tell you, I was so starstruck. Oh, you can see with my big old smile. And I took plenty of pictures of him going in that pie platter.
Okay.
So yeah, it was quite an experience. I felt like I was on top of the world.
Awesome.
When that happened. So yeah. That was my first gospel celebrity that had tasted Stella Pies. Now I've seen a few celebrities, but they ain't had Stella Pies.
So you got a lot of, real good support from like mom and pop shops and, just other people having their own businesses. I mean, word on the street is you have actually gone into other people's businesses who were selling food, selling all this kind of stuff, and they wanted you to sell your pies.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that.
So let me tell you about that experience. Like I got hired as a kitchen manager at one of the mom and pop stores that sold like soul food. They did breakfast in Opelika, Alabama. So I want to give a shout out to Susie K. They're no longer in business now, but I did have them in their location. They had Jim Bob and Uncle Charlie's in Auburn. Let's see. I dropped them off at Hers Daycare. I dropped them off at the meat store on Frederick Road. Let's see. Sweet Daddy Soul. His brother had a store up Highway 50. Mm-hmm. That was a mom and pop store. There are so many places. Oliver and Company, who is a hair salon. So there are so many places. Like I don't want to keep naming names because I know I'll forget somebody.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I just want to thank everybody. Meadows Farms. I cannot forget Melinda Meadows.
Okay.
She always do a fall festival. I show up there and I'm sold out within 30 minutes. I mean, I feel bad for the other vendors that will be there. But hey, they be waiting on Stella Pies.
They waiting on the pie.
They waiting on the pie.
Okay, they asking where the pies at.
Where the pies at?
So, Stella, this podcast, we talked a lot about you and your journey, but one thing that we really want to make sure that people really understand is the do's and the don'ts. Mm-hmm. So what's like one thing about funding or financial planning that you wish that somebody had shared with you before you started your business?
The main thing I wish somebody had to share with me is how to go about capitalizing. What is the first step that I could have taken to get the capitalization that I needed, to get the funding so I wouldn't have to spin my wheels by working a job, and, just selling pies from a 9 to 5. So I wish, I had that information to begin with.
So more of the, who to go to, whether it be the bank or some type of alternative funding, grants and things like that. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, y'all can see the pies about done, so we about ready to eat. And my lips is, they ready now, okay? They just over here watering. But back to the questions. So, you've like literally had your pies in so many different avenues, whether it be, like I said, we were just talking about other people's businesses, you've been a vendor, you've been this. What has been like your most successful strategy for marketing and advertising your product?
The most successful is Facebook, social media. I've done TV with It's All Good with Iceberg Slim. I've done podcasts with Lady Coco, Off the Record with Kelly Young. You name it, I've done it. Like anything where I can be in somebody's face and talking, they're gonna know about Stella Pies.
Okay.
I mean, I'm known as the pie lady.
That's your like a cash app or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
The pie
lady. Okay. Just in case, y'all trying to buy a pie.
Money sign PIELDY.
So now we've cooked some pies here. We've seen just literally how much love and attention to detail that you put into these pies. How do you maintain that quality, and just that sense of commitment when you're growing and scaling your business?
Well, first of all, I have to have a clear mind. My mental is everything because your health is your wealth.
Right.
So, with that being said, like here lately, I've got derailed because my mental is not there. So I haven't been cooking like I normally would cook. So that's why I try to tell my people. I keep them informed of what's going on with me, everyday life. But my main thing of being consistent is always being on some sort of outlet to let somebody know about Stella Pies. Whether I just speak about it, show a pie, run a reel on Facebook, to keep their minds fresh on Stella Pies. So that's how I try to, stay consistent and scaling and let people know I'm still in business.
So you advertise, but you're also like the sole person cooking these pies.
One lady operation.
Period. Just one.
Just one.
That's one.
Just
I mean, so when you get a Stella pie, it's coming from Stella, the original.
right. And it's all out of love.
People gonna be like, wait a minute, I didn't expect I was gonna get all this from the podcast today. This gonna keep them going for them 2 weeks when we off too. They gonna see Stella Pies, cause it's a lot of material.
Okay. All right.
Ooh, y'all, I'm so hungry. I don't know what to do. Ooh, I'm about to start. Okay, so I mean, I want to taste one first, but let's try to. I'm trying to hold myself. So you talked about getting your food truck and your business plan and that sort of thing. What is your plan for the next 3 years, 5 years, if you will?
I mean, I haven't ruled the food truck out, but I really just want people to be able to taste all the goodness in my pies. So with doing the food truck, I was, thinking about getting everything patented and, getting the preservatives and all that, but I don't think I'm gonna do that because I don't want the taste of my pie to be taken away just because I want them on the shelves in major stores like Walmart, but I can still do mom and pop stores because the shelf life is like 4 days.
Right.
So I'm just gonna reconstruct this plan, but I'm gonna keep making these pies.
That's the tagline. I'm gonna keep making these pies. Well, I'm about to taste one of these pies.
That's your peach.
It's the peach. Okay.
It's hot out the grease.
Hot out the grease.
It's hot out the grease.
Ooh.
I'm gonna let you try yours first, cause I know what they taste like.
Huh.
You gonna try one, but you gonna what?
I'm gonna eat the rest of these too. Okay. All right. So just so y'all know, they are hand pies according to Stella. So I'm eating them with my hands. Now we also talked about like they good. Now you see how them peaches falling out there? Okay. But no, you're also writing a book. Tell us about that. And, the projected dates for that coming out and being published.
Well, I've been writing this book, and for those of you that know Stella and have been following Stella, y'all know Stella been married 7 times. It says to know completion, but it didn't work for me.
Ooh.
So number 8 gonna be great. So I've been writing this book since 2019. I stalled on a particular chapter, but I'm getting ready to pick the book back up, and it shall be ready by 2026.
Okay.
So y'all just get ready.
So now y'all know all these twists and turns we've had in this story. Imagine when we bring her back as an author, okay? Because she's coming. Be ready, 2026.
I'll be back.
So, I see that you did a whole wardrobe change. I mean, you got merch, you got all this stuff going on. But I'm going to call it the first segment. You had on a different shirt. Tell me about the shirt.
This shirt?
Oh, that shirt.
This shirt?
It just popped up.
So this shirt is my inspiration. If you see it, it was shaped in a heart. I cook with love. I have 8 grandchildren. They are my inspiration. So I had this shirt made with all their names on it according to their ages. So I like to wear this shirt when I, want to feel inspired.
Okay, okay. Now, you also had a different kind of pot back there that you were cooking with. Tell me the story behind this pot.
Let me tell you about that pot. See, when your grandmamas cook, they always have this specific pot or pan they like to cook out of. So that pot, like I've tried other pots, but that pot is the pot because if you notice it got all that burnt, crusted up stuff on it. It just do something to it.
Pull the pot out for the people to see, because see, they probably weren't paying attention.
Let me show y'all this
they
pot.
They weren't paying attention. You gotta see this pot. When I eat my pot.
This is the pot. It just make them pies do their thing when they in here.
They doing their thing.
And see, they my babies. When these pies are in this pot cooking, I don't even have to look to know that they need to be turned over because they have a certain little sizzle. I know it's time.
You know it's time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
That's when you cook with love.
I feel it. So, we're talking about legacy. We talked about apparently your legacy with this pie that may or may not have been your grandmama's, a legacy with your grandkids. How are you involving them in your business today? How are you planning to leave this as a legacy for them?
Well, a couple of the girls already, jumped in when they were very young, when I was in the kitchen, because y'all know I have my grandbabies all the time. And whenever Stella's cooking these pies, they want to be in the kitchen. I got pictures to show where they got flour all over them, dough, rolling the pies. Every time I'm cooking, if I go home, Nana, we going to make pies. So, I'm going to leave this legacy because I will be able to tell them my secret ingredient.
Okay.
And so they can just carry on the legacy when I'm gone on to glory, baby.
Okay. All right. Keep it going. Whew. Last question. And my last pie. I mean, I know y'all see them back there. I'm gonna give them too. But for the camera, last pie. Talk to me about, if you were to start over with what you know now. We talked about ups, downs, flips and rounds and all of that. What would you do differently?
The first thing I would do differently, I would recreate my whole plan, and I would be in tune with someone that could lead me to the capitalization of starting my business. Because the rest is history. I've already built the foundation. It's just that mighty dollar.
Funding.
That funding. If I get that funding, it's over. Because everything else is already there.
Wow.
I got my clientele. I got my ingredients. These are just the basic flavors. Apple, peach, and sweet potato. I do blueberry cream cheese, strawberry cream cheese.
Blueberry cream cheese?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't never had that.
Pecan pie, the whole sweet potato pie. I do sweet potato cream cheese, sweet potato souffle. I done even implemented a breakfast pie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's more to just apple, peach, and sweet potato.
Okay. The blueberry cream cheese, now I need to have one of them. We need to, well, that's off camera. We'll talk about that later. But, okay. Well, I'm going to finish eating my pie. And Stella, we really, really appreciate you joining us and sharing the gems, dropping the gems, and the knowledge that, you have on our listeners. And we just appreciate you for your time and these pies. I mean, go, you know what? Try one, eat two.
That's right.
All right, Stella Pies.
Thank you for having me. I hope I've said something that can inspire someone. And just please don't give up on your dream. Everything that I've been through, I'm still making pies. Hey guys, y'all can follow me on Facebook, Stella Pies, Stella Stone, Instagram, Stella Homemade Pies, and TikTok, The Pie Lady. My phone number is 334-704-3432 if you would like to place an order. Thank you. Where them pies at?
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Business in the Black, the go-to podcast for aspiring and established Black entrepreneurs looking to build, grow, and sustain successful businesses. Each episode dives into the inspiring journeys of Black-owned businesses, highlighting their triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned. You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Bluesky, Spotify, and Apple at Business in the Black. Instagram, Business in the Black Pod, P-O-D. And our YouTube channel, Business in the Black Pod, no spaces. Please follow, like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thanks again for joining, and we look forward to seeing you next week.